pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no changes in the agenda, Madam President.
Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
We're down to minutes.
We're gonna do that last, aren't we?
All right, we're going down to the minutes. Can I have a motion on the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, please?
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Okay,
Support.
thank you. Any questions? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Carr?
Mr. Clark, personnel actions for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Madam President, we have several personnel actions tonight. Our first one, a motion is needed by the board to accept the retirement of personnel as listed on page 2.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the retirement of personnel as submitted by Mr. Clark.
okay,
Support that.
thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
and Ed, all these are long-term employees, you know, many years of service,
Yes.
30 years and all that.
Yes.
I'm familiar with several of the names.
mhm.
All right.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Our next personnel recommendation are resignations. Moved by the board to accept the resignation of personnel as submitted with one correction for Ms. Sarah Metzger. The date should be 4/30/04.
okay. I have a motion on that, please.
I make a motion, we accept the resignation of personnel as submitted.
I'll support.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a quickie on
Ken?
the fifth name down, the industrial arts teacher. Is
Right.
that the one we just got?
Just got it. He's moving back up north.
Now, these resignations,
Okay,
does
take a big
that
sip.
go into the buyout situation?
Right, for the letter that we just sent out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, does he get that stipend?
He resigned, submitted his resignation, yes.
So many years of service.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Clark, the teacher that's resigning for, this is effective April 30th, correct?
Yeah.
So do we have a replacement for her, or are we combining classes? What are we gonna do?
No, yeah, there's going to be a substitute
It's a
that we're going
sub.
to put in there.
Okay, okay, thank you.
And going back to the other question, we are looking ahead for planning for next year. What is our planning, which is what that $1,000 situation was about, and we didn't make a difference in terms of longevity relative to teachers who opted, or administrators who opted to submit a resignation or notice of retirement.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And our last personnel action is a for your information, employment of Ms. Jamie Evans, our new latchkey child caregiver. Effective date was April 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Ruzgier, bills for payment.
President Lanasi, Superintendent Carr, members of the Board of Education, we have for your submittal and approval 10 separate check runs totaling $1,078,829.09.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the bills for payment.
Thank you,
Support.
thank you. Any questions on the bills?
I thought Mr. Ruth Gear was going to explain each page of those we were.
Okay, there being no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
The bills are paid.
Go ahead with the budget revision.
The next document for board review would be the budget presentation finalizing various budget categories within this current school year. If you go one at a time, the first would be the vocational education fund. What we've attempted to do is to show you a comparison of last year versus this year. It doesn't seem to be out of line, as long as this is a self-balancing fund. Hopefully there is a general fund subsidy of roughly $370,000, which is down from the previous year. If we're off target and our expenses exceed revenues, that subsidy could be greater. However, at this point in time, we anticipate that our budget will assimilate what our actual revenue and expenses are going to be for the current year. The next, if you would, is the debt retirement fund. Basically, this is driven by the demands placed on the district for the long-term debt or obligation that the Board of Education would typically see towards the latter part of the financial statements that are presented to the Board of Education by post-Smythe, our auditors. We typically, at the end of June, will evaluate our cash position, project our principal and interest payments, and thereby set our levy based upon those needs. If you look at the bottom, at the fund balance projected for 2004, we're just under a projected cash balance of roughly $2 million. This is an adequate fund balance and should put us forward into next school years. However, as I stated, we will reevaluate that at the end of June when we go to set the levy. The next would be the capital projects fund, and for all intents and purposes, this is our building and site fund that we run all of our bond issue through. As we've indicated to you in the past, when people have petitioned the board to fund certain projects, we indicated to you that we were physically running out of money. We have spent the fund down. We've just given you a comparison of last year to see, so you could identify, at least with last year, even though this bond issue was originally passed in the year 1999. Basically, we're out of money and out of costs, and the remaining fund balance will be spent to exhaust the liability for arbitrage payment that we anticipate that has been projected for this current school year. So once we do our final reports with the state of Michigan and our audit reports, we'll file an actual tax return, if you will, with the federal government and subsequently pay this $371,000 to them for interest accumulation over and above what the original bond had sold at based upon the term of the bond this past 4 years that we've had this in place. The next presentation is for the food service, the athletics, and the community service. Just so you know, the community service piece would be the latchkey, My Friends and Me, and et cetera. Food service typically is a self-balancing group of accounts. We generally anticipate that there would be some gain in revenue. We're currently projected to end the school year at roughly $211,000, which is a favorable balance. In all likelihood, we will anticipate that we would be slightly in excess of that, roughly $250,000 to $60,000, but I didn't feel comfortable enough because of we've had a change in operational management style, if you will, and while it looks real favorable, I didn't feel comfortable enough to finalize that in terms of the budget. However, I will assure you that we'll at least cover our costs and break even. At some point in the future, the state typically likes us to run closer to cost, and that we may receive notification from them to spend this fund balance down. That does happen. It has happened in the past in school districts that I have been associated with. we, in all likelihood, would use that money, that excess revenue, and some of this fund balance to upgrade equipment and hoods and things like that that would benefit the food service operation. The next is the athletic fund. If you look up in the revenue piece, there's roughly $617,000. That is a subsidy from the general fund. That's slightly in excess of what it was in the year previous. But the general fund subsidy has to balance this fund out so that there is zero equity. So whatever we actually end up with, plus or minus, the general fund will subsidize to that extent, and that'll balance that fund out.
Mr.
As-
Gutierrez,
Yeah,
when you say athletics, what do that include? When I look at that number?
that's all of the athletic program costs associated with the program that we run in district. And by that I mean, that includes the athletic director, the services from our on-site person that does our first aid, security, that would include transportation costs as well. They're all included in there, all the fees, all the team uniforms, everything associated with that program are included in this cost. The community service is, as I've indicated to you, it should balance out. If you recall, Mr. Musham did have a slight increase last year for latch fee and related fees. In all likelihood, he'll probably do it again this year. Moving on is, last but not least, the general fund operating statement of our district. The first sheet is a composite of pages 2 and 3. I will share with you that the revenues and expenditures are relatively constant based upon a couple of isolated events. And if you look at page 2, in the third column, you'll see under TIF adjustments, a $3,135,000 change. That's more of a change in position, and by that I mean it's $3 million coming from the city of Romulus as opposed to $3 million from the state of Michigan. So if you drop down to the state sources under membership where it's $15,000,009, the majority of that difference has to do with the property tax shift that we recouped, as Mr. Carr had indicated with you back in December, where there was a shift in payment, who was going to get us, who was going to provide this funding. I just had to count for it separately under 2 separate lines. I will also remind the board that this year we suffered a $74 per student proration allocation. And what that means to us was that the funding wasn't sufficient to handle the 6,700 basic foundation, therefore they had to roll it back. And that's costing roughly $313,000, and that's included in that figure for the $15,000,009. On the expenditure side, these are relatively straightforward. They should appear to be reasonable. I would remind the board that this includes a 3% raise for all bargaining units across the board. That in the transportation costs, the major change there has to do, if you'll remember, we bought 3 buses, and that cost was roughly $134,000. And this also anticipates a 12.5% increase in all bargaining units for our Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And that seems to be, we started the year with the anticipation of that. Tracking the actual cost of Blue Cross on a monthly basis and comparing it to the year previous, it does seem that we are right on target with that increase. The long and short of it is, if you go back to page 1, we're anticipating that we'll, in the year, we're going to expend approximately $2.8 million more than we're taking in. We still will have a fund balance of approximately $2.3 million, and that will be rolled forward into the 05 school year.
Could I have a motion on this, please, and then we'll have our question period?
I make a motion, we accept the Board of Education to adopt the vocational education budget, debit retirement, capital projects, school service fund, athletic budget, and general fund as presented by Mr. Ruthier.
Support.
Thank you. Okay, any questions?
Other than if the state economy stays as is, a year down the road is gonna get tough, right? I mean, that's gonna be the,
Absolutely.
Bottom line.
That's what we've been discussing.
yeah.
as
I
a
mean, at this
possibility.
point, we're okay, but another year, it could be real tough.
That's
Well, in
correct.
fact, you see the appreciation of our fund balance by 2.7 million. And if we look ahead to next year, we're already in place, and we had meetings with all of the union presidents stating we're not laying off employees, but we're not replacing vacancies that do occur when they shift people in assignments. But we're going to have fewer employees as we begin next year, as we have resignations and retirements occur than what we've had in this year. So we're trying to, through attrition, take up much of the slack in terms of the cost overruns that we have. Next year could be a much more difficult situation, but we hope for good things, and time will tell what occurs in that fall.
Real quick, what was the percent you mentioned on the increase in insurance? Was it 12? 12.5%?
Yes. And keeping in mind, Mr. McKevich, we went to a PPO,
Mm-hmm.
so we made inroads. Had we not done that, that could have been considerably higher.
Okay.
And our deductible is up with all bargaining groups except the MEA.
And insurance costs continue to rise at about these same percentages, you think, in the future? I mean, it looks like
Yes.
we're gonna continue rising.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The next item I have for your review is the, again, it has to do with the HIPAA requirements. And basically, this, even though the names aren't specified, there are 5 people within the district that we have designed that will have access to privileged information with respect to medical coverage in dealing with employees of the district. And this resolution is requiring, or asking that you adopt this resolution, thereby allowing the 5 people within employees of Romulus to satisfy the requirements under HIPAA.
I would like to
Go ahead.
make a motion to adopt the recommended motion as it relates to HIPAA.
I'll support.
Thank you. Any questions?
Do we need to read that entire resolution, or do you just need the
No.
vote?
Just the vote.
I have one question. Is this something we do every year, or is this something
No,
new?
this is new
This
this
is new,
year.
okay.
In fact,
I didn't think I
15
had
to
seen it
15
before.
now.
Yeah, there's only 5 employees.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
One more time, Bill.
And then the last item I have for your review is, we are about to enter, the folks that came to us with Strategic Energy have also this program. And what this is, Thermonics, is we've identified a site, and that being Wick Elementary School. And what the vendor is purporting to do is to line the tubing and elements of the chiller so that the Freon moves more freely through the system and it minimizes the usage of kilowatt hours. They're telling us that we'll have a minimum of 15% reduction in the kilowatt hours used, which will be in effect a 5.5-month payback based upon the cost to install. And what we're asking the board to do is to use WIC as a site that we can attempt to accomplish this and thereby save the district money. It's our intent to evaluate this for 1 year, and if the savings are in fact there, that we will come back to you at a later date and recommend that all of the other buildings be incorporated into this procedure. Again, we're attempting to save the district money.
Why did you choose WIC?
I'll understate at this point. We were talking about doing this in more than one building, and I said, we have the three sisters, those three, we have Barth, Wick, and Hale
Yeah.
Creek, that are all identical. Wick is probably the heaviest used of those buildings in terms of the numbers of
Okay.
people that are in it. We also have the nighttime activities. And so we do know what our history is in terms of the usage there. If it works in that system, and we'll have detailed statistical analysis to come back with, we will then make some assumptions and possibly carry it possibly to the rest of the district, or maybe a couple more schools if we feel we still have questions, but it looks good. Want to evaluate it, and we figure that's a good building to take a look at. It won't make any difference to the folks who are inside the building. It will merely make a difference to the electric company, hopefully.
In other words, it's not like we're turning the thermostat down to
No.
55.
Nothing changes.
No, it just increases the efficiency of the operation and thereby saving kilowatt hours.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the Finance Committee's recommendation to approve the contract with Thermonomics.
Support.
Okay. Are there any other questions, please?
So we're just committed to one building for 1 year,
1 year.
and then we'll evaluate,
Yes.
and we're hoping the savings will be significant, and then we do the rest.
Sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and that's, we're willing to give it a shot on this one, because the cost is not really high.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
The contracted service fee for this, is that a one-time service fee, or every year do we have to
No,
renew that?
That's one-time application.
So it's the service that they're going, the
Yes.
new equipment they're gonna put in there to,
It's not
make this
equipment,
happen.
it's like a Teflon coating inside the tubing. That's really what it's like.
so in other words, if we decide to go with the other buildings, then we'll put it in the other buildings. If not, we'll still have it at WIC. They're not gonna come in and take it out.
No.
Madam Chairman,
Go ahead, Ken.
looking at your second page, okay, we have the estimated cost savings by 12 months, 5 years. What's the finance plan? Is that? It
If
says,
we were to finance, and obviously we're not going to, we'll just expend $3,840.
so you had an option, you could have financed, what,
Right.
through them,
Sure,
through that company?
sure.
And then you'd have had to put 20% down and?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
That's correct.
Not an economical thing to do from our point of view.
No, I didn't, that's why when I looked down there, I'm thinking, wait a minute. We don't want to do that.
One time off.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Mr. Dolan?
We were to have a presentation from Barth, but Barth was without electricity today. So we will get them back here. Essentially, Barth has a grant with Greenfield Village, an exciting grant where the 5th and 6th grade are working with the staff at Greenfield Village. When they're back in line, we'll get them back to talk to you. Sorry about that.
Don't be.
The other piece of summer school.
Summer school. We met extensively, and here's what our proposal is. We just wanted to update you all on it. Because of rising costs, it's gonna be $175. We'll make an offering to all parents, $175, elementary, middle school, and high school, across the board, 6 weeks. Do you have that? The biggest difference that the community is gonna have to deal with, there will be no transportation. We cannot afford transportation in our proposal. And our proposal, we're thinking is gonna cover all costs, and obviously, based on Bill's previous presentation, all our efforts are to cover all costs these days. So we're gonna offer 6-week sessions to the elementary, middle school, and high school. The elementary will be reading and math, middle school reading, math, and enrichment, and we'll probably add an enrichment component to the elementary as well. In the high school will be our traditional offerings, and as we have in the past, we'll invite Belleville schools to attend. We rotate with Belleville schools.
This is the same charge that students paid when they went to Belleville last year.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no increase.
And we'll see how it goes. And Obviously, an advantage for the elementary parents is that we will continue to offer, or the Boys and Girls Club will continue to offer throughout the summer services from 7 in the morning to 6 at night. I think 7 to 10 in the morning, they have what they call an early bird, which is like, anybody know I think it's about $60 a week for working.
Early bird is,
Is it cheaper than that?
yeah, it's $20.
$20 a week. Then from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, it's $50 for the summer, and that's, you can't beat that. So we will, depending on numbers, have it at either Wick or Merriman or just one. So I just wanted to update you and make you all aware of what our direction is, and we'll be taking registration by probably the end of May. Ken?
Just to make clear now, you said elementary is going to be either Wick or Merriman? And then what are we going to do for middle and high school?
Middle and high school will be at the high school.
At the high school.
One
okay.
administrator,
The middle school's at the high school too?
correct.
One more question.
Yep.
Here you have a high school, you have a first session and a second session. Is that included in their day? Do they get a break or they
They have
can
about 10,
choose?
15-minute break, depending on the administrator.
So they will go till 1 o'clock then? They sign up.
Approximately, depends what time they start, and we'll have the administrator, work with that, but we gave some potential times, 7:45 to 10:15, and again, what we probably want to think about is, do we want to get the kids out 15 minutes early in case they want to work, or do we want to let them sleep in the mornings in order to get them there? So, it's half a dozen of one or the other. But that's sort of what it's going to look like, and because we're not going to have transportation, we can be a little bit more flexible. But without transportation, it's good. It'll be interesting too. Questions?
Just high school then is a maximum of 2 classes, so they can pick up 1 credit.
Correct. And this is important for students that want to walk. They would have to register before.
Very short.
You know that. Okay.
Thank you. Jason Kudarek, would you please stand up? Justin, I'm Jason. Would you please come forward? I'm sorry.
Yep, right there. Very good. The Rhineland Community School District Board of Education Resolution. Whereas Justin Kudrick has devoted much time, effort, and energy into achieving the Boy Scout Troop Number 872 Eagle Scout Badge under the tutelage of Scoutmaster Tom Withrow. And whereas Justin Kudrick has completed various achievements with the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts, including camping and community service affairs such as pancake breakfast and food, clothing, and bottle drives. And whereas Justin Kudrick has progressed through the scouting ranks of Scouter, Tenderfoot, Second Class, First Class, Star, Life, and Eagle by earning 36 merit badges for special activities such as American Heritage, Animal Science, Archery, Art, Personal Awareness, Cinematography, Communications, Cooking, Dentistry, Electricity, Emergency Preparedness, Environmental Science, Family Life, First Aid, Fish and Wildlife Management, Fishing and Hiking, Home Repair, Horsemanship, Indian Lore, Metalwork, Personal Fitness, Personal Management, Pottery, Public Health, Pulp and Paper, Reptile and Amphibians Care, Rifle Shooting, Own Gun, Wilderness Survival, Wood Carving, Citizenship in the Community, and Citizenship in the Nation and the World. And whereas Justin Kudrick has demonstrated leadership skills and passed an intense peer review by other Scout leaders and received letters of commendation from former Boy Scout and public figures such as State Senator Raymond Basham, 34th District Judge Brian Oakley, City of Romulus Public Safety Director Charles Kirby, Wayne County Executive Robert Finko, Pope John Ficano, Pope John Paul II, State Attorney General Michael Cox, Lieutenant Colonel Chambers for the Air Force Thunderbirds, Secretary of State Terry Lynn Land, Governor Jennifer Granholm, the Heritage Foundation, and the Columbus Blue Jackets hockey team. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Romulus Board of Education, speaking on behalf of all of the people in this community, does hereby tender this official resolution and of congratulations commending Justin Kudrick for his outstanding achievement of earning the coveted Eagle Scout badge and his numerous community contributions, including the extensive Eagle Scout project, that conducted gathering toiletries for donations to the Charitas Homeless Shelter in Taylor.
Very good.
Congratulations.
Now, which one of you guys can start a fire with a rock and a piece of wood?
Kyle can do it. That's pretty good. I don't know, Betty.
Correct. Congratulations to all of the adults and the support from the fellow group members for this. And special congratulations to his parents, too.
Okay, can I have a motion for that now? Ken?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution commending Justin Kudrick
Okay,
for
she
achieving...
has made the motion.
Oh, okay,
You're
then I'm
seconding
supporting,
it.
I'm sorry.
Supporting it, I'm sorry. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Just got one question, Madam Chair.
sure.
What kind of rock do you use to start that fire? Can you find it easily? Yeah, how about you? And how you get it? How you find it?
What kind of rock?
Flint.
Very good.
That's pretty
Good.
Okay, we come to that part of the meeting where we have communication expression from the public, and being as there is none today, we'll just move right along. Mr. Carr?
Item of interest are self-explanatory, I believe. I'd like to pass out one other item, and that's a annual meeting and dinner of the Metropolitan Bureau of School Studies. Did you receive that, or?
Yeah,
All
we
received
don't
that?
have a copy.
If you're interested in participating in this on Friday, May 14th, please let Carol know so we can get a reservation in for you. There's a cost with this. I've gone a couple of times and missed several times. It's an okay thing. It's entirely up to you. If you want to go, please get a hold of Carol and let her know. I have no other comments relative to this, but we will need an executive session tonight.
Okay, now, questions and concerns of board members. Do we have any? Mrs. Buckley?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to make a comment on, this week I had an opportunity to listen to some senior projects from the students at Romulus High School. I was so proud of what they're doing. And also, from there I went to robotics, and then I went to WIC, and I am so proud as a board member and as a parent to see what our kids are doing. They're second
Yeah.
to none. So I just wanted to,
You know, and we were talking, Mr. McNevich and I were talking to Mrs. Jariga, and apparently all the schools do this. But WIC is the only school that I've ever received any notice of this, and this is the second year that I've been there, and it's fabulous what those kids are doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
what the sixth graders are
Just
doing is
interesting.
called career pathways, and they pick
Yeah.
a career and present it as to
Yeah.
salary and just different things they're interested in, and it's so amazing to watch
You
what
can
they're
see
doing.
why I'm so interested in the MEEP and how I love it so much.
Yeah, right.
Be a
They
little
are
sarcastic.
just second
We do
to
some
none,
really
so-
great things, and you don't measure that by that one little test.
By the test, yes,
It
that's
doesn't-
right.
It doesn't count.
Here, here.
So I just wanted to mention some good things that we're doing out there.
Just to echo what Cheryl, in that day, the media center at the high school had their bibliothèque, cafe bibliothèque, and if you have ever get the opportunity to step in and see that, that is great too. And students read poetry and perform individual musical selections. Just great. It was just a great day. I agree with Cheryl. It's really reaffirming to go from those exceptional seniors presenting to the robotics and seeing some exceptional relationships between business and our teachers and our kids and work school. Nice stuff.
Yeah. Anything else?
I would just mention the Wayne County RISA Legislative Forum. They had one earlier this year in Woodhaven that I went to, and it was quite good, and they've got one coming up in Plymouth. I would recommend any board members that can make it. I know it's in the morning and it's difficult for some, but if you want to get an idea of what's going on with Lansing and maybe get some input, this is a good forum to go to. And it doesn't cost anything, if I recall.
Okay,
Motion for executive session.
we're going to go into executive session. Can I have,
There may be action after this executive session resulting from the grievance hearing we had tonight.
I'd like to make a motion that we convene into an executive session.
thank you.
Support.
Roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Ms. White? Mr. Minkevich?
Yes.
Mrs. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley? Yes. Ms. Lanasi?
Yes.
Ms. Frere, yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to reconvene in regular session.
Okay,
Support, do you need a
Yes,
support
and
on that?
Yes.
Yes.
You got it.
Yes.
okay, now
Ms.
roll call.
White?
Yes.
Mr. Minkevich?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Ms. Lanasi?
Yes.
Ms. Frere, yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
in regards to step 2 grievance appeal, move the Board of Education of the Romulus Community Schools issue the following response. Both the grievance and the appeal to step 2 are untimely, and this grievance is therefore not arbitrable. Even considering the merits of the grievance, the disciplinary action and all actions leading to it are in compliance with the collective bargaining agreement. Grievance denied, no violation of contract. Response to step 2 grievance number 002-2004.
Support.
Okay. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Support.
Who was that?
Celeste.
Yeah, it was Roscoe. Huh?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Joe.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.